Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ora News broadcast. I'm Daniel Cook, your host for the English edition, Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. In today's news, the Prime Minister Edi Rama spoke today about the educational reform in Albania. During the presentation of the reform of higher education, Prime Minister Edi Rama pointed out that this reform will end the great farce of the fictional education of people with worthless degrees, which was confirmed by the large number of people who did not pass the graduation exams. The aim is to resolve the problem of unemployment through vocational education, he said. Prime Minister Edi Rama said, "I have legitimate pleasure and pride that today we are at a moment when a founding stage of fundamental reform is ending for another generation in Albania. We have in hand a product carried by a group of people, regardless of political views. Here in this commission, people are united by the common interest of higher education in Albania, the academic way, and no doubt there is commitment from all of them, regardless of their political affiliations, because when it comes to the selection of professions and their activities, they are willing to contribute. It is a moment that marks justice, which will be followed with other plans. What we have always said is that the reforms are being made together with those to whom the reforms belong, to become the everyday reality of the government. I highly appreciate this activity, primarily for this reason. I believe that this is the day that we should highlight the fact that the government took into consideration the concerns that were expressed by an interest group through different voices to take more time. And we did this because we believe that the product should be consolidated, primarily for the public, but also for you and those who work with this product. The Albanian governments generally have tried to run before walking, but we are going to walk in order to run. And this reform is a guarantee laying each foundation stone for the future. We have received measures of results from the graduation exams, which make us more aware of what we need and what awaits us in the future. 34% of the participants did not pass the exams. Another fact to be underlined is that despite the rumors that the evaluation of the universities have not begun, we have started this. We did what we said by contacting one of the best-known agencies in Europe in order to assess our universities. We have lived with the farce of the great success of our universities, opening a big gap between us and our future. We want to convince the parents that have invested in the pyramids of the past that the family pays the money for the student, not to go to college, but to receive a diploma. We have lived in an unacceptable situation, demonstrated by the lack of competition and merit, in which those who study at public universities are not treated equally with those who study at private universities. There has been no accreditation for private universities and unconditional acceptance for public universities, but there should be accreditation for all without exception. If a university is not full, its doors will be closed, and everything will be done to recruit others. We will try to ensure the longevity of this reform. The previous government has brought the votes of the people by creating a great illusion, which is making all people engineers, lawyers, and economists. We will open new jobs through vocational placement, said the Prime Minister, Edi Rama. The final draft of the higher education reform was presented today. The opening speech of the reform was given by the Minister of Education, Mrs. Lendita Nicola. She said, "We are here to present the draft reform for higher education and scientific research, which is expected to undergo a radical change. Today we are responsible for working even more after the decision on the candidate status in order to make Albania skilled and an important partner for the benefit of scientific research funded by the European Union. We have signed 2 agreements recently that will enable the participation of Albania in offering research materials for the most important developments of the country. I would like to thank all the professors that followed this debate since the first day of the draft until today. In this reform, the politicians are trying to stay away, and all the specialists and professionals have already said what they have to say. She continued, "My gratitude for the professionalism and hard work to reflect on the final draft report of the higher education reform. It came out in a short period of time, thanks to the presence of high integrity through debates, advice, and suggestions. Today, I feel very appreciated that in these months, in my office, I had the opportunity to confer with you, to closely observe your passion and dedication, to build this new communication, and to listen attentively and reflect on everything, leading this reform to the end. The reform sets the capable university in the center, capable of facing the challenges of the times, in the eyes of students and teachers. I've heard some criticisms in terms of the reform, saying that it breaches the autonomy of universities. But in fact, we want to awaken the university from the lethargic sleep that it is in, and from the autonomy on paper. We want the university to be the structure in which talent is acquired, and in which you all have academic freedom. To do this, we intend to form a useful alliance, a student-teacher alliance. We support the students who want to continue beyond the bachelor level, and also those who are in economic difficulty. We have a very broad aspect of higher education. We do not want to disrupt the aspirations of the young people for education. Allow me to let you know that this new reform shows the will of the government to develop new opportunities for scientific research. I conclude with this point of view, expressing gratitude and appreciation for all of you who followed this constructive debate for the final draft of the reform of higher education, and particularly for the Commission and all its members," said Minister Lindita Nicola. The head of the commission of this reform, Ariane Jotsai, said that this reform will create academic autonomy, in which universities will decide on the curriculums, and the fees will be monitored. The opposition leader, Nuruzin Basha, feels that the current government has brought nothing but fraud and failure. For the chairman of the Democratic Party, Nuruzin Basha, the 300 days of the current government can be characterized by fraud and failure. During his speech at the meeting of the parliamentary group of the Democratic Party, Basha said, "The government of Rama Meta Duo in the first 300 days shows nothing but a deteriorated balance in all fields, particularly in the field of economy and order." According to Basha, the official data shows an increase in the number of murders, robberies, and accidents in the country compared to the previous year. He said, "The number of murders has increased. The number of accidents has gone from 374 to 872. The number of reported crimes has reached a record of 3,046 cases compared to the 2,671 cases in the same period a year ago." Seeing these numbers made us think that if they had promised to worsen the situation, they would have done just that. For us as the opposition, it was clear that Rama and his ministers would do worse, Basha said. Referring to the mafia assassination of the well-known businessman Artan Santo a few days ago, the opposition leader said that the event in the middle of Tirana was a serious message that crime does not calculate for the government at all and hits where it wants and when it wants. The police operation in Lazarat was launched under the pressure of the opposition, under the international pressure and the pressure of the members of the majority, who thought that it could not be postponed. We wanted to continue this operation in other cities like Lazarat, Basha further stated. There was a blackout at the headquarters of the Democratic Party, which forced the termination of their direct link with the media. After the restoration of power, Basha released a mocking statement. "They cannot succeed to impose informational darkness," he said. Chairman Basha said that the government has not achieved the revenue that it anticipated in its plan. "When it comes to revenues, the government should be measured by its plan," he said. "This is transparency. Other ways are propaganda." The increase of revenue during the first months of 2014 is 33% less than expected. There are $280 million less in the public investment in the last 8 months. The media deception of this government can be clearly understood, Basha said. The High Council of Justice met today under harsh debates. The meeting of the High Council of Justice was held with harsh debates and conflict between the Justice Ministry and members of the High Judicial Council. The meeting was held behind closed doors. The new draft law on the functioning of the institution that was drafted by the Ministry of Justice started huge debates at the meeting. It is learned that President Nishani, who is also the president of the High Council of Justice, has referred to this draft as an attempt to take control of the independent constitutional bodies. President Nishani continued by saying that anyone who takes this as a joke is making a serious mistake, and that the dimension of freedom is affected by this. Even the council members opposed the bill, noting that the draft law has serious constitutional problems. On its part, the Justice Ministry defends the draft, with the argument that it was consulted with the Venice Commission and international partners. Under the recent changes, some powers that belong to the judges, including the verification of the mandates and the evaluation of judges, will pass to a commission that is set up by some other institutions, and not by the High Council of Justice. In the following hours, the disciplinary proceedings against judges are expected to begin, requested by the Justice Ministry. Among the judges being disciplined is Jean Joni, a member of the High Council of Justice and a judge of the Court of Appeals. A report has been issued today on the effects of the value-added tax over the last 3 months. Today, the Institute of Statistics has published a report on the first 3 months of 2014 about the increase of the value-added tax. In a media statement by Instat, the director Giergi Filippi stated that according to the indicators of the economy in these last 3 months, there has been an increase of 1.65% compared to the same period of 2013. According to the indicators of the gross value-added tax, the economy in the first 3 months of 2014 had an increase of 1.65% compared to the same period of the previous year. Industry, telecommunication, hotels, restaurants, and other services had the greatest impact on this increase, said Filippi. Analyzing all the branches that have had an impact on the economic growth, Filippi said that the agricultural activity has experienced an increase of 3.06%. The processing industry and construction activity was decreased. He said, agricultural activity has marked an increase of 3.06%. The extractive industry has had the greatest impact, with an increase of 41.62%. The processing industry has declined by 9.87%. Construction activities declined by 5.3%. Trade, hotels, and restaurants have increased by 2.66%, and the trade group itself has marked a 5.52% increase. Hotels and restaurants have dropped by 14.64%. Transport activity in the first 3 months has marked a decline of 24.98% compared to the same period of the previous year. Telecommunications have experienced an increase of 3.64% in the first 3 months of 2014, while other services have been increased by 1.97%, said Filippi. There were debates today in the Parliamentary Commission between the majority and the opposition. The opposition and the majority debated today in the Parliamentary Commission of Economy and Finance on the draft law entitled "On the Ratification of the Loan Agreement between the Republic of Albania and the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development." Present at the meeting, the Minister of Finance, Shkelqim Çani, said that Albania needs assistance, and the borrowed money is going to the state budget. The borrowed money is going to the state budget, he said. Albania needs assistance, said Çani, speaking to the members of the committee. But the deputy of the Democratic Party, Sherefeddin Shehu, accused the minister Çani of tampering with the debt balances. He said, "You are tampering with the balance of the debt after the loan has been received for technical assistance and not for investment. You have destroyed the Ministry of Finance," said the Democratic deputy to the Minister of Finance. Shehu accused the head of public finances of passing insurance to the Ministry of Social Welfare, which would dramatically increase the deficit. The purpose of granting this loan is to support the reforms, to improve the fiscal sustainability of Albania, through the strengthening of public financial management in the treatment of arrears, as well as through reforms in tax, pension, and energy, to support macro-fiscal stability. The opposition leader, Lulzim Basha, participated in the assembly elections of the Democratic Party in the town of Berat. The Democratic Party, said Basha, has set a new standard in Albania in terms of the registration and re-registration of its actual membership. Today it has 101,000 members. The digitalization of the registry of membership in the Democratic Party is the foundation on which the young leaders of this party are being selected through the free vote. Assessing the work and contribution of everyone on the basis of the free vote, it is and remains our mantra for moving forward. That's why we are in this process. That's why we started this big campaign, this extraordinary campaign, which is unprecedented. Today we can say, not without pride, that we are the first political party in Albania and one of the few in Eastern Europe that has fully digitized, correctly and without objective, its membership of 101 members across Albania, said Basha. The chairman of the Democratic Party, Lulzim Basha, spoke about the difficult economic situation that the country is facing. Mr. Basha stressed that high taxes on businesses and legal uncertainty has been associated with foreign and domestic entrepreneurship during these last 300 days in Albania. Evil government policies, said Basha, have caused the closure of jobs across the country. He continued, "There is poor economy and uncertain future. This is the direct result of the bad policies of higher taxes. They promised 300,000 new jobs. How many job positions have they opened here in Berat? They have cut jobs across the country, and this is shown also by their statistical institute, which led unemployment down to 13.9% from 18.3%, said Basha. The Italian ambassador has said that Italy will continue to support Albania on its path to integration. Italy will continue to be a close friend of Albania along the path of integration into the European family, he said. The statement was made by the Italian ambassador Gianni from Vlora after holding a gala event that coincides with obtaining the rotating presidency of the EU. He said, We will support you with all our strength, as any dear friend does for another. We will support you as we have done in the past. We will support the Albanian government in terms of reforms. There is great interest in Albania from the Italian businesses. We are working with the Albanian authorities in order to turn this investment or turn this interest into something more concrete, he said. The Italian ambassador said in an interview for Aura News that the conception of Albania has already changed, which has turned the country into a destination of special interest for tourists. Today we are talking about fashion, spectacle, and Italian culture. This is the Albania of today. This is the Albania we want to see, he added. The foreign minister of Italy will visit Albania on the 25th of July, when the priorities of the rotating president of the European Union will be presented. Steps are being taken to improve the energy efficiency of homes and apartments in Albania. The Minister of Urban Development and Tourism, Eglantina Gjermeni, who is present at a seminar on the energy efficiency of apartments, said that a project has been launched to comply with the standards that are required so that the citizens can save energy in their homes. The minister said, "People should save energy in their houses. The efficient use of energy is of great importance." The Minister of Energy and Industry, Damian Gjiknuri, stressed that the efficient use of energy in the buildings that are under construction is very important. The efficiency in the buildings that are under construction is untapped, he said. It must be mitigated by attempting to save on energy consumption. Investments are needed to increase the energy efficiency of existing housing, to create jobs, and to give a boost to the economy. Investments in energy efficiency are an opportunity to address the financial crisis and climate change. The Prime Minister of Macedonia says that he will not allow any violent protests to continue. Prime Minister Nikola Gruevski said that he will not allow the escalation of violent unrest, which erupted after the terrorism convictions of the alleged Albanian Islamists for the killing of 5 ethnic Macedonians. The state won't let these protests escalate to an extent where they might jeopardize the interests of the people and the country's institutions, Gruevski told the media on Monday, after clashes between the ethnic Albanian protesters and the riot police over the past several days. We support peaceful protests, like in any democratic country, but no one, nowhere, can support protests in which violence is used, he said. His comments came after ethnic Albanians were urged to rally again in the capital of Skopje and other towns, where Albanians make up a sizable portion of the population. The anonymous protest organizers, who spread their message via social networks, called on the Albanians to rally every day until our boys are released, although no demonstrators were seen on the streets of the capital on Monday afternoon. This has been the Aura News English edition. Thank you for watching. Please join us again tomorrow at 6 p.m. for more Albanian news in English, only here on Aura News. Thank you and good night.